guys, it's CrafTea, and today I will be doing another squishy makeover video. Wait, actually, I guess I can't call it squishy makeovers because that is copywritten by Mariah Elizabeth. No, I'm kidding. But I don't think I'm going to be calling it squishy makeover. I think I'm going to be calling it squishy upcycling because I've actually done one of these before. It was about a year ago, actually. Most of the people that watched it liked it, but then there were a whole bunch of people who extremely disliked it and would not stop telling me how much they hated it and that I was copying Mariah Elizabeth. Yeah, it was not fun. So I actually ended up privating that video. And then just a couple of months ago, I decided to republish it, or just like, you know, put it on public instead of private. I don't like it as much as I did when I first made it. I also wanted to say that this video is 100% inspired by Mariah Elizabeth. If you guys haven't watched her videos, they are absolutely great, and I aspire to be that good at editing. I hope this video is even comparable to her, and yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so to start off, these are the 5 squishies that I will be upcycling today, or repainting. That's what I'm gonna call this. Okay, now on to squishy roasting. I guess I actually can't call it squishy roasting. Now it is on to squishy bullying. Okay, that definitely doesn't sound as good. But anyway, this is the first squishy that I will be bullying. It sounds so stupid. It is just this, I'd say it's a panda donut. It is just a super cheap, like, crappy squishy. It has a whole bunch of, like, rough patches, but, like, overall it's not that bad. It just has a really bad drizzle, like, a couple defects, but, like, overall it's not that bad. So to start off, we really need to get rid of that drizzle, and so I just ripped that baby right off. It was actually so satisfying to peel off. Like, look at that. Also, the blue color, it literally looks like the squishy got, like, a tan. It peeled off really nicely, as you can see, in most areas, but then there were some areas that it was a little rough, as you can see here. Next, I pulled out the little, like, cell phone plug thing, and this was surprisingly hard to get out. But as you can see, I finally did, and that's what it looks like if you are ever wondering. Now I took my scissors and cut all the way around the edges because there were, like, these little scraggly little bits all around the squishy because it was super cheaply made. So I just used my scissors and cut all around it. Half the time I'm out of frame, but you know, I got used to it. So this is what it looked like when I cut off all the edges. I feel like I could have done a better job, but you know. Now to fill up the hole that we made by pulling out the plug, I took some foam from another squishy and just shoved that baby in and then cut around it, cut off all the excess foam with my scissors. Then I took some excess paint. I don't know why I used purple paint because it's so pretty. But I took that and I covered up all of the little, like, divots or the little chunks that were taken out from peeling off the drizzle, and also where we filled in the hole from the cell phone plug. I made sure that all around the edges were nice and smooth so that it wouldn't show through when I did the actual base. I relate everything back to cake, so this is basically like the crumb coat. This is what it looked like after it was dry. Now on to the cake colored layer, or I guess the donut colored layer. I took some brown because I'm making this a chocolate donut. I squirted out some brown because I guess I thought I was gonna mix it in other colors, but I ended up just using the color that was from the bottle. Yeah, you can definitely see I'm literally off camera. Wow, good for me. Here, I figured it out eventually. Wow, I got all up in there. I used as much as I squirted out, and then I just went in like straight from the bottle onto the squishy. As you can see here, it's a lot easier to get it smooth with the like nozzle that's on the bottle than with a popsicle stick. I did 2 coats of the brown, and then I went on to the shading of the donut. Now I thought it was a great idea to use a sponge and some black to shade this, to make it, you know, look like depth. Beautiful, you know? But this just ended up making it look burnt because I didn't add any color to it. I just used black because I thought it was dark enough and I thought it was gonna be fine. The actual idea was a good one, but it just ended up looking very burnt. I don't love how it came out. The purple is coming back from the base layer and I'm using it for the icing. I loved it so much. I thought the purple went so well with the brown. Comment down below if you guys agree. I just did a really thick layer of purple. Okay, the next step that I did was do the drizzle, and I went straight for my white slick paint straight out of the bottle.
All over the world, we're looking for inspired investment opportunities.
What in the world was I watching? Anyway, I just did like a outline basically with the paint, and then I went back in with a toothpick and did like circular motions all the way down to get the drizzle. This part was so satisfying. I just absolutely loved doing this. And then the last step that I did was I took some rainbow sprinkles that I actually handmade, and I just picked out the colors that I wanted with my tweezers and I placed it on the icing. Oh, man down. I don't know how I feel about them. I like place them on the like strip of white and I feel like it almost makes it look too perfect, but I do think I like how this came out. It's very simple, very pretty. So this is the before and this is the after. What a beautiful change. Like any change would have been good for this squishy, but I don't know, I like how this turned out a lot. This is the side by side original repainted. I don't know, I like this one. I like the simplicity. I feel like I could have done something like cooler, but I do like how like soft the squishy still is. The only thing that I don't really like about it, like I like the front part, I just don't like the bottom. I think the shading doesn't look that great, and I also got like random white spatters of paint on the bottom. I don't know how that happened, but I do really like the squishiness, and I love holding it in my hand, as you can see here, and just squishing it. It's so much fun. Okay, so the next squishy that I will be bullying, or I guess the next squishies that I will be bullying are these Toast and Panda Bear squishy. Now, this Toast is not in bad shape at all. It's, again, just a really cheap squishy. I got it in like a bag of like 25 or something, so it's just, you know, in a little rough shape. There's a couple of like rough edges, and there's a little black like greenish blob on it, but other than that it's fine. Then on a completely different scale, we have this Panda squishy. Not only has the cell phone plug been ripped right out, but both of its ears have been ruthlessly ripped right off. This whole squishy is just in disrepair. The bottom is completely roughed up, the face is roughed up, everything about this squishy is crusty, so we have to fix these up. So the first thing that I did was, of course, pull the plug out of the squishy. This one was really difficult to get out, but I got it out, you know. Then again, we're just doing our like regular cleanup sesh. I used my scissors to cut around the edges to make sure those little like gunk pieces that were there before aren't there anymore. Then of course I took some foam and filled up the hole that we made from where the plug, and I used my scissors. And then I brought in the other squishy and I cut its face off. It looked so sad when I was cutting its little face in half. So if you couldn't tell already, I am making this into an eggs and toast squishy. Oh yeah, bring back in the squishy flesh. Like, yeah, that's really respectful. Anyway, now I knew that Mariah Elizabeth had made something similar to this, but I didn't realize how similar it was until I went back to her video and watched it. And boy oh boy, it's literally exactly the same. So I guess this is an ode to Mariah Elizabeth. I'm like recreating her recreation of a squishy, I guess. I hope I don't get yelled at for doing this, but I thought this was a really good idea. So anyway, as you can see, I formed the little egg yolk and I just glued that on with some puffy paint, and then I used a toothpick and like smoothed out the edges so the like puffy paint blended in. Then I went back in and covered the entire like purple grape looking thing with a layer of puffy paint so that all the holes from the memory foam will get all filled in. Then I started making the base layer. Now I added some white and then some yellow, and then I added some brown. Oh, just a little bit of brown. I wanted to make sure I got the perfect color, and I really like how this color turned out. So I just lathered that baby right on. I made sure it was all smooth, and I thought it was totally fine, but when it dried, I noticed these giant like cracks in it. I really didn't know what was causing that until I went back in the clips and realized that I used this acrylic paint that I think it's the only thing that could have been the problem. It's a like cheaper quality acrylic paint. Obviously I didn't care that much because I used the excess and I covered the back, and then I just repainted the front with the same paint, and it seemed to be fine, so I'm not quite sure what the cracking was for. Maybe I just did a too thick coat. Next I'm working on the crust color, and I used the same brown, and I added just a teeny bit of orange to it until it came to this beautiful crust brown color. That's kind of weird. This took so long to do, and not only did I have to do it once, but I had to do it twice. I did 2 layers of it, and oh my goodness, it was like so time consuming because it was such tedious work. And on the second layer, I went up on the top of the bread to give it like a thicker crust look, and this just took so long, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. And then for the egg white, I took some puffy paint straight out of the bottle, white puffy paint, and I did like a droopy egg look. If you watch Mariah Elizabeth's video, it's literally the exact same thing as she did, which is funny because I hadn't even watched her video in like, I don't know, a year, 2 years, like when it came out. It's kind of crazy that our memories are like that. But when I let this layer dry, it also did that weird cracking thing. So I was so confused. And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, it's probably because it's such a thick layer. So I just did a thinner layer on top, and it seemed to be totally fine once it dried. And then the last step I am doing is painting that awful purple grape looking thing on it, and I just took this yellow color and coated that baby right up, and I thought this would only need 1 coat, but I ended up having to do 2 coats, which wasn't that bad. It just made it look a lot more opaque and more like yellow because the purple was starting to seep through. And finally, this is the before. It wasn't even a cohesive squishy, and this is the after. I really like how this one turned out. Again, this is 100% inspired by Mariah Elizabeth. She did the exact same thing, and I really like how mine turned out and how hers turned out as well. It's a very simple recreation, but it like the simplicity just makes it look so good. And also the egg yolk is so fun to squish. Like, it's literally like I could not stop squishing it. I didn't really know how to squish the bread. Like, it's so thin that like it's such a thin material to squish, and I love how this one turned out. Now the next squishy I will be bullying is this Hello Kitty, I guess knockoff Hello Kitty donut. Now this squishy, again, is a cheap squishy. I promise you the last squishy that we're doing is not a cheap squishy. This squishy is just like basically like the rest. The drizzle is just terrible. It's so crusty. Like, everything about it is just bad. The yellow color is so obnoxious, yet like simple. Like, I don't even know what they did with this one, but I really, really like the shape and I see the potential. So let's get in repainting this squishy. Okay, so the first thing that I did was rip off the darn drizzle, and this was so hard to rip off. It like took a huge layer of the foam off and made huge indents on it. It was very much not nice. And then I pulled out the cell phone plug, or like the thing that you like use to hang on your backpack, and then okay, what in the world was I doing? I stuck my finger in there. That is nasty. Anyway, the next thing that I did was just use my scissors and clean up all around the edges, you know, just the normal stuff. Again, why was I sticking my finger in there? Oh, well, I guess now we're sticking my entire pair of scissors in there. Clean up on aisle 7. Then I forgot to stick the foam in. That's so like me. So I stuck the foam in. I added more foam. I used a lot of foam. The hole in this one was gigantic. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering why I take the plug out, it's just because it's super like hard when you're trying to squish the squishy, especially because these squishies are so little. Like, it's kind of nice to not have them in there. Then I just used my purple paint and smoothed out the edges, again doing the like nice crumb coat. Oh, that was so satisfying. Smooth that baby right out, making sure the edges are nice and smooth so it doesn't show through, again for the base layer of like the cake color. Next, I made the donut color. I added some white, and this is where everything went wrong. Ah! Hope that's not too much. Oh my goodness. I dropped a huge glob of orange in there, and here's me thinking that it'll be totally fine. Like, I added some brown, I added some yellow, mix that up, and then you can just tell by how I'm stirring this that I knew I messed up. I just kept stirring expecting it to change colors, but nope. No, it's too orange. I ended up having to make a new color, so I added some white and yellow, and then I used the same popsicle stick that I was using for the orange stuff. Mixed that all together. I thought it was a little too dark though, so I added some white. I don't know why. I thought it was good the way it was. I added some brown as well until I was happy, and then I just lathered that on. Oh, we're getting olive in there. Oh, and here's me realizing that I was out of focus. Great for me. I changed the color for the second coat because I thought the color was a little bit off. I still don't think I got it perfect, but I think I did it better on the second try. Oh, and here, are we just gonna totally ignore that I filmed for a solid minute, not realizing that I was out of frame? Yep, just pull it away like you didn't just do that. Yeah, here's me doing the second coat. I think the color's a little bit better, less yellow. Now I did the same shading that I did for the first donut that we did. This time I added some brown, yellow, and white to get the color, a little bit lighter. But I still don't like how this turned out. If I had just left it like this, it would have looked so good. But I just kept going and going and going. Why did I have to keep going? It just, the more I dabbed, the worse it got. It looked like there was a ring around it. Do you see that? Look at how terrible it is. I ended up fixing it up off camera, but I still don't really like how it turned out. But now we are doing the icing, and it is going to be neon pink, baby. Just kidding, it's not neon pink. It's going to be a light pink. Now, for some reason, this pink paint was so chunky. Oh, are you going to catch it? Oh, it's going to, oh, okay, good for me. It literally looked like it was curdled. It was so weird. But when I added the white paint, it seemed to stop. And man, oh man, this color is so beautiful. It literally looked like icing. It was so pretty. I just love this color, and I think it looks great with the base color. I really like this choice of colors. Colors, can I say colors anymore? I did 2 layers of the pink, I just didn't show it on camera. Then I went in for the drizzle. Now, you don't know how much I thought about this drizzle. I wanted to use white, but then I thought I had done white for the other squishy, but then I was thinking, should I do brown? But I really didn't want to do brown, but I didn't want people to think that I was doing 2 of the exact same drizzles, but I ended up going with my gut and using white, and I'm so happy that I did. I did the same thing as the first squishy. I just did circular motions to smooth out the drizzle, and again, this is so satisfying. It's so fun to fix it up. It just makes the line so smooth and precise. This one took so long though. Obviously it's sped up, but this is how long it actually took. It took so long, but again, it was so satisfying and really fun to do. This is the after and this is the before. You can tell how different smoothing it out actually makes. Now for the last step, filling in the bow, the one thing that's missing. I use the iconic red color because the original Hello Kitty bow is red, and I just filled this in. Again, this is so fun to do. It was so satisfying to fill in the missing piece. It just made the squishy come together perfectly, which was really fun for me. And I did 2 coats because you could kind of see the original base color seeping through there, and I didn't want that to happen, so I just did a second coat, and I think that fixed that problem. And this is the before, boring squishy, and this is the after. I love how this makeover came out. I absolutely do. I just love the colors together. I think the pink with the red looks so good, and the drizzle just looks so good. I love this thing. Again, the only thing that I don't like about this is the bottom. I don't think the shading looked the best. I do think it's better than the brown squishy that we made, but I just love this one so much. I think the fix-ups that we did looked so good. The as I said, the colors together just look so good, and this squishy is so fun to squish. I think it's my second favorite in this entire video. It's just so cute, and I love the Hello Kitty aspect. It's also super slow rising. I really like this squish. Okay, now it is time for the last squishy that I will be bullying, and it is this tooth squishy. Now, at first glance, it looks totally fine, but then you realize that there is this giant rip in the bottom, right in between the sides of the teeth. It kind of looks like a shark. What in the world was I doing here? I don't know. Anyway, if you ever wondered what the middle of a squishy look like, I guess this is what it looks like. I mean, it's got some stains on it. Obviously the big rip is the problem. It's just in rough shape. That's all I have to say. So yeah, let's just get into fixing this squishy up. Now, the first thing that I did was remove the metal chain, and then I pulled out the plug. Also, this thing was so hard to remove because this thing was massive. Look at how big that thing was. The hole that it made was so large, so I had to use a lot of foam to just, fill the hole in, obviously. Then I cut it up, made sure it was all nice and smooth. I cleaned up around the edges. There was also a little rip on the side, as you can see there. And then I took my purple puffy paint and filled in the gaps. And first of all, I obviously had to fill in that giant hole right there. I just covered it in puffy paint, and then I took a rubber band. Oh, refill. Once I had covered it fully, I took a rubber band and I put it around the squishy so it would stay together without any gaps. Then once that was dry, I filled in the hole where we took out the plug, and then any other like rips and tears that I saw on the squishy. And then once the bottom was fully dry, I took off the elastic and I smoothed out the crack so it would be nice and secure. And I recovered some of the other holes because the holes were kind of deep, so I had to do another layer of the crack. And I was planning on keeping this a tooth squishy, so the layer that I was going to do was just, you know, good old white, you know, a plain white squishy. And I used the troublesome puffy paint, but I thought it was going to be fine, and also it was a lot cheaper than the Scribbles paint, so I just used that, and I used a popsicle stick and tried to smooth it out as much as possible. It was legit impossible to do that. I tried to get it as smooth as possible though. And then I was like, what can I do to make this tooth squishy a little bit more interesting than it was before? And I was like, ooh, I should make this baby metallic. So I mixed some of my normal Scribbles paint with some metallic paint, and this looked so pretty. But this took so much paint. Oh my goodness, it was so much paint that I had to use. I really like the sheen that it gave it. It was really pretty. As you can see here, it's like slightly shiny. Then I flipped it over and repeated that process on the other side, and then I let it dry. And I bet you guys are screaming at me because you know what I missed. Yeah, I forgot to sand the squishy. I thought it was going to be fine, but randomly I tried to squish the squishy and there was so much air stuck under there and the paint was not sticking. The paint just peeled right off. Just pure disappointment here. I just had a field day trying to peel off all the paint because obviously I couldn't just leave it. But not only did it peel off the white layer, but it also peeled off all of the layers that we did to fix up the squishy underneath. So it took off all of the hard work that I did. It was so disappointing, and it was also a huge waste of paint. Oh, and not to mention, it also ripped out our little plug that we used to stick in the hole, so I had to stick that back in. I was so mad. I glued that back in, and then I took sandpaper and I took out all my frustration on this thing. I sanded it so hard. I made sure that thing was so smooth, or I guess rough. I made sure that there were a whole bunch of little holes. I would not let this ever happen again. Then once that was done, I glued back in the hole, repainted everything, made sure everything was secure, just repeating all of the damaging processes that we did before. And I was so annoyed that I didn't take as much time as I should have. And like in between the crack where the tooth crack, whatever, they were a little bit less smooth than they should have been, so you could kind of see it through the paint job. Speaking of the paint job, I used the same paint, but this time I used a paintbrush and did lots of thin coats. I did so many thin coats. I think I did I think I did 8 or 9 on each side. Obviously I didn't film them all, but you can tell just by watching the sped up clips, this took forever to get it nice and smooth. Then I flipped it over and repainted the other side. And then for the last coat, I used my Scribbles paint. Oh, shoot. Oh, dropped it there. I used my Scribbles paint just to give it a nice, coat to, seal everything in. And then what I did was I took a little pin to relieve some of the pressure inside the squishy to make little holes, and this just makes the squishy, more slow rising or less slow rising. It really helps the air get out. And now you guys thought I was doing a tooth squishy. You're wrong. I'm actually doing a bunny squishy. Yeah, I know. You guys didn't expect that, eh? I didn't want to do something boring, and randomly my siblings were like, that looks like a bunny. And I was like, you're right, it does. Also, my sister was like, it's Easter, or it's coming up on Easter. And I was like, you're right, I'm definitely doing and as you can see, I used a neon Sharpie to mark the face, but I don't know why I did that because it ended up just staining the white, and I didn't even use the marks that I drew anyway, and you couldn't even see it on camera, so that's kind of annoying. But I just took some pink paint that I mixed myself. I love this color so much, and I just did the ears. The ears took so long because I was trying to make them perfectly precise, I am such a perfectionist. I really do like how they turned out though. And then the next step that I did was take my sponge again and the same pink paint, and I tried to make little cheeks like blush, but for some reason it worked so well on one side, and then the other side it looked so bad. I was like, what in the world? Like, you can tell. So I decided to go over it with some white paint, but that didn't do anything. It just made it look dirty. I was like not happy with how the cheeks turned out. I couldn't fix it. I literally didn't know what to do, so I just left it. And then the last step I did was work on the face. So here you can see I did the nose and then the mouth. The mouth was basically just like a frowny face almost, or a little smile, because the toothpick was so like hard to get thin lines. That happened with the eyes as well. Since the toothpick had so much paint on it, it was hard to get a nice thin line. But I love the face expression. It's so cute. It's like so innocent and adorable. So this is the before. And this is the after. What a beautiful change. I love this squishy so much. It's so cute. Here are the side-by-sides, original, repainted. I just love this squishy so much. I thought the idea was so good. Like, I'm so impressed with my brain for thinking of it. Also, if you didn't see, I added a little tail, a little bunny butt, and also some little hands, I guess, or paws that I didn't film on camera because it was really hard to get them that thin and also film it. I hope you don't mind. But I just love it so much, and the little bunny butt is so cute. I just love this squishy. As I said, it's just such an adorable little squishy. What in the world was I doing there? I guess I thought the squishy had emotions. I'm weird. These are all of these squishies that I remade in this video. If you guys like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and please don't roast me in the comments for how bad I did the squishies. I am not a painter at all. I don't consider myself good at painting at all, so I'm really happy with how these turned out. I'm surprised at how they turned out, and I hope you guys don't think that I'm copying Mariah Elizabeth, because I know some of you guys can get really offended by me being inspired by someone, but that toe squishy is totally her idea. I definitely stole that from her. If you're watching this, Mariah Elizabeth, I doubt you are, but like, that would be so cool. I love you. But anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!